Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning from Colorado. We are in Denver and stopping for the night.
Journeying our way back to Utah after a week-long family visit.
Absolutely.
And enjoyed our time in Oklahoma. All was successful there. Got to see some family members and cousins and relatives and longtime family friends from
Michelle.
And Michelle was super patient about all the family stuff.
It was really fun. We think we told you that Jim's mom just celebrated 40 years at the same law firm. She's been working there, and it was really amazing to see the tribute of people that came through. And the place that they rented was just packed.
Yeah.
And
that was mostly the reason for the journey. So now we're on our way back, one hotel night, and be back in our own beds tonight. Yeah, so looking forward to getting settled back in there.
Yeah. There's no close airports, so we're like, let's drive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a long drive. We have you've got your V8 meeting tomorrow for group 2.
That's group 4.
Group 4.
Yeah.
Which is for mid-sized dealers, and then we have the webinar coming up on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
Go about 90 minutes, and it's on keeping your employees sticky, keeping them motivated. We hear sometimes people are having a hard time finding the right people or being able to hold on to people, and what is the recipe for really being able to do like what Anna Marie just celebrated, 40 years. That's a different totally different
level of thing.
paradigm. But so I mean, how do you keep? We've got a dealer that's going to be joining us. He and his business manager, and they have people that have been there for a decade or more. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
And Rudy asks, is there a group for newbies? Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's our group 3 currently, and we do have space in that one. We have meetings next week with both group 3 and group 2. I think I have 1 seat left in group 2, which is the dealers that are 500 accounts and above. So Rudy, happy to talk to you. You can reach out to me. I think my email is available over there. We'll share it at the end, but just do jim@whitehatway.com and you'll find me, and we'll get together and talk about it. But happy to have you over there.
Okay, so today's topic is just kind of like the things we talk about when we're on a long drive, and I was just taking notes as we were kind of going through, and based on things that we're seeing happen in Facebook and questions we're getting from our V8 dealers or from our clients, and these are just some of the things that we were writing down. It's like these are really the questions that we felt pretty strongly that it's a good idea to ask them and have a conversation about the questions. And so we just to let you know, a lot of these topics will be either a podcast or the roundup or a webinar or something, and we're putting together our agenda.
I think the answers, the big thing for me here is that the answers won't really come from us. While we have experience and probably have even some cases strong opinions about these things, we think it's more valuable for you to hear from other dealers.
Absolutely.
And so we, we're just going to go out there and bring dealers together for these panels. And today was really just about going through the questions that are top of mind for us. Of course, there are others, but these are just top of mind based on dialogue that we're currently having, right? And what we see out there. And we've kind of settled in. For today, we're going to talk mostly about sales, and there are a couple of other topics kind of in here. But
we wanted to go through the questions and also go through why, what are the things that the events, the conversations, whatever that we've been having that kind of led us to this would be a really great topic. So the first one is, in top management hires, what kind of mindsets and skills best serve the company's objective? And
We may have a chance to make that a topic on Friday. I expect that to be our topic of Friday of this
of
week.
the web of the podcast.
Yeah, and so so we'll just be posing that question. We have a dealer that we hope to can join us on Friday to talk about this very thing, because they're in the middle of a hiring decision, and it just kind of, it's among the things that we see that is something that we feel like dealers need to hear from other dealers on this, especially obviously seasoned dealers who have been there and made choices around, who to hire. And when you really think about the larger objective for a dealer, so when I say top management, I'm talking about general manager, COO, people who would be, driving a lot of the day to day. And so if they have responsibilities over more than one department, then that we really think about what is the mindset that we'd be looking for from those people. What skills would really serve the larger company initiatives, objectives, business approach. So these are the things that we want to really talk about.
Some of, like, what kind of a background too would you be looking for some of these different key positions?
Yeah, this came up because
and how important is their background to them?
We've had people in some of our dialogue in the last week or so. We've had people, they're reaching out to us about various things. Especially, we have one dealer who's looking to fill a position, and we kind of socialized it out there, on Facebook and what have you. And some of the people we're hearing from are suggesting that, you can hire a good finance manager. And so obviously this is among the questions that we want to ask. Would dealers, would buy here, pay here dealers, seasoned buy here, pay here dealers, would they be open to hiring a finance manager from a new car or retail background who'd never run a buy here, pay here store? So these are among the questions that, we're going to bring forward. Again, we have our own experience based on what we've seen and observed, and in my own business, we've seen plenty. But it's like, I just want to hear from other dealers. Like, what do they think when it comes to making those kind of decisions?
So that will be on Friday, is what we're thinking. The next question is, should outsourcing be considered in any strategy for growth or scale?
Right. And
this has been a big topic on a lot of social media, and one that's just like, it's been lots and lots of opinions, and some that are very this or very that. And so it's a question to be asked, because I do know for us that us, when I say us, I mean Jim, because I'm married into buy here, pay here. But that there has been a shift in what you think about some of those things.
And so outsourcing in particular is, I think you got to be careful. Like, there's outsourcing, which, as you and I talked about, there's outsourcing which could be onshore or offshore, right? And then there can be, but really we're just talking about when it comes to growing and scaling a business. So we want to talk about that element of how can outsourcing be part of a strategy. And we want to really hear from dealers who have done both. They have done insource and outsource in various departments, and hear from them with their own experience. We've got dealers doing both. We've got dealers doing, different departments. Obviously, BDC is one of the hot button topics right now.
We've heard a lot about collections, outsourcing collections. There's a lot of dealers that don't want to have that within their location. So
and we live in a time when a sharing economy is part of how we're evolving, and so it's just an interesting time for buy here, pay here dealers to examine that. So we want to talk to some dealers who have done both. We want to talk to some that have outsourced, and if they manage the team, and outsourced through a third party that manages the teams. And so we just want to ask questions of dealers, and let's dig into those.
The next one is, can private money be part of my solution for growth?
Right.
And that's been a pretty big topic in V8 and along with our clients recently. And so we did kind of touch on it the other day in the podcast, and had a few people that just like, thank you. This is a hot topic.
Yeah, we actually chose to have a bonus meeting, one of our V8 groups, on this subject, because it is just such a, kind of a front and center conversation.
Yep.
For some of them. It's a priority.
Uh-huh.
And so we definitely want to flesh that out. We have
Oh, yeah.
experience in that area and have, can help with cash flow. But I think what we really
Well,
want
the
to do
next one is now, and this leads into it, is now the time to prioritize debt reduction.
Right.
And yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and how do you do that? I mean, obviously, if you can be disciplined within your current line of credit or your own funding structure, can you reduce debt with your own cash flows? So yeah, that's part of what you're right. Private money would tie into that as one way to get there. But these are just things that we see as we just want to ask questions of dealers and see what they say.
Next one. How much of our day-to-day frustrations are self-imposed? And this is something that we've tackled before, and it's kind of time to bring it back, because it was when we first started the podcast too, and it just says it's been a thread through a lot of different things as we look at we talk to dealers every day that are wanting to go to the next phase, and sometimes that's phasing out of the business, sometimes that's phasing into a new part of the business, and so it's usually frustrations that it's like something's got to give, and especially with the wanting to phase out, it's like there we've heard just some frustrated dealers out there, and so we were kind of thinking about what it's time to kind of talk about again, how we can alleviate our own frustrations and how much are self-imposed. And that's, I noticed that in my own world, when I'm starting to feel frustrated and I'm writing things down, and I'm like, okay, that's me. That's
Right.
not an outside thing. So,
And again, it's a question for dealers. For today, I would say it's mostly in the context of the sales department. If we think about, and of course, obviously in sales, at the front end of our operation, and the decisions and the success we have in sales and closing and underwriting are going to affect the rest of our business. So that's why I really wanted to focus first on sales. And I asked the question, I think if you use this question as the backdrop for these other questions that are coming up on the sales side, then it's like, for us, obviously, we work in operations a lot. We see things, we hear the questions and frustrations coming from dealers, and everybody can ask themselves these questions, right? How much of what they're experiencing is, there's things that we can control, there's things that we can't control, there's things that are internal, things that are external, right? And so so this is about just examining those things and figure out which of the things are fixable, and which of these frustrations that we deal with in daily operations, are kind of self-imposed based on our own processes or whatever, or choices, right?
Okay, so the next one is, how much effort should we be putting into selling a buyer with poor credit? And this is something that I've had to ask Jim a lot of questions, because I was like, I don't think I understand what it is that you're asking. And so, it's when we dove into it on the drive yesterday, it's more, they land on the lot, and that we're selling and selling and selling and selling and selling them to get them to buy. And so how much should we be selling once someone arrives on the lot, that's a poor credit customer? And part of that question is, what should we be selling too?
Sure.
But it's like, how much should we be putting into selling?
Yeah, and as a former dealer, I've always been fascinated by this element of our business, and especially, as you travel and you see dealers in other areas of the country, you see dealers in larger markets. We see more of this in larger markets where people are competing, for a customer who, is in the marketplace. And so I think in smaller markets, this is less true, or less of a challenge, but I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. And I look forward to asking, a panel of dealers, how they feel about this, because how much effort should we be putting in? And again, I have my own ideas here, but I don't want to slant the question. I don't want to, I don't want to impact the answers of the dealer. So I would say, we can wait and see what they have to say. But I want to know, how far should we go in trying to sell this customer, right?
Yep. This is a big one. Are car dogs a smart hire for buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here?
We'll need to explain that to
And
some of our listeners.
so yeah, so those of you who are not, we hear the phrase frequently. Well, he's an old car dog.
Yeah.
We're talking to clients or whatever about they're looking to add to their sales team,
Mhm.
and it's like he's an old car dog, and
Or
she's an old car dog, and so you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, I mean, at least in the context I've always known it in the time around the car business. Keep in mind, I worked a short time in the new car side of the world before I got into buy here, pay here years ago. But I would say that typically the context is somebody who's been around the car a lot, a long time, is kind of a seasoned, salesperson. They're typically more old school approach, but they've been effective. Like they've traditionally sold, consistently a fair number of cars. But they're car people, they're car salespeople, and some people would say they use the phrase dogs because they like chase cars on the lot. Like that's kind of a part of the mentality.
And one of the things that in the context of this conversation that we've had with some of our different colleagues and clients is the idea that oh criminy, I haven't had enough to eat yet this morning. I just totally lost it.
It's all right.
If it comes back, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that happens with this part of it is obviously in our line of work, it's different, and I find it fascinating. I talk to people who tell me, it's the same, Jim. Sales is sales, and sales in the buy here, pay here environment is. So this is kind of the question that I could also ask at the same time: is sales in buy here, pay here the same as it is in the other?
What I was thinking about is that when we hear about old car dogs, it's one of the things that goes along with some of these conversations is they don't do computers. And they, that's part of that is like they've been in the business a long time. I'm not going to be able to teach them a new trick. Old dogs, new tricks.
Right.
Remember? And so that's been one of the but they're really good. They're old car dogs. They really know how to sell. So is it that important that they be able to navigate a lot of the new softwares and the DMSs and everything?
Yeah.
And
the flip side of this is you might have somebody who's good at the software, but they can't sell their way out of a paper bag. So it's kind of the expression that you hear sometimes, like so if you can't sell, like they're so that's part of what we'll try to flesh out is where do the car dogs fit in our strategy in terms of building our buy here, pay here business and creating more sales. And so a lot of these questions that are coming up are kind of related to the same thing.
Next one is, do we truly have a high percentage of low quality, poorly qualified sales leads? And that's, you hear that all the time. It's like, oh, well, we're not selling as much because we've got bad leads.
Yeah. Based on what? Like what metrics are using? How would we be measuring that? We hear this from dealers. We hear this from, some contractors and people in the field, and obviously marketing people who are getting paid to produce leads. And people measure quality of leads in different ways. And so I think the main question here is, do we hear it? Is it true? Do we really truly have a problem with quality leads? So is the problem the leads, or is it sales process? Is it the actual sales training? I mean, these are all obviously kind of tied to the same question, but we want to bring some experts and bring some dealers who can help answer that question.
And I think what ties into that or threads into it a little bit too is, people say, well, our customer here is different or whatever. It's just, so let's have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation.
And on V8, we're tracking very little about this. So we, we're not digging too deep, and we can't with V8. We're trying to keep it simple, but it is a question I think we see in our work, and we want to bring others to the conversation to say, what is reasonable percentage that we should be expecting if we're well trained? And obviously there's lots of threads of this. The marketing has got to be effective to reach the right customer, and then to convert the right customer at least into a lead inquiry, and then obviously to go another first. So we're gonna break that down and figure out what is truly a percentage of bad leads.
This next one is what percentage of my sales are coming from leads that are more than 7 days
since they were created.
Since they were
They came
created,
in as a lead.
or more than 30 days.
Yeah.
And we've just been seeing some really interesting things recently that we wanted to bring to the conversation. And it's we see frequently with a lot of new dealers, clients, that if it's past, a lot of times, like 3 days,
Mhm.
there's no follow through on the leads. And sometimes that leads into it's a poor quality lead, or it's a whatever kind of
Yeah.
lead. And so they're very related. And what we've been watching and what we've been starting to really measure is it's going to kind of get to the crux of some of that, of some of the things that we've been looking at. We'd like to be able to talk to dealers about that as well and see what their experience has been.
Yeah, and I could just tell you that, as a consultant advisor, if we showed up and we were starting to, be able to break down the sales department
Mhm.
and the effectiveness of the sales team, et cetera, this would be among the questions that we'd be asking or wanting to analyze. And so this is why we ask dealers to maybe just ask ourselves, is this something that matters? And I would say it's a good way to really look at if you want to talk about quality leads. So again, this kind of ties back into the same thing. Are the
Mhm.
leads quality? Are they just getting dropped, because customer didn't respond, whatever? Like, we would want to find that out. We would recommend dealers ask
And it
themselves
kind of
that
ties
question.
also into the old dogs thing, because a lot of the times when we talk about the old dogs, they're not really good at follow through, but when someone lands on the lot, they're going to leave with a car,
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
that
yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
All right. So the next one is, are we prioritizing celebrating the right things company wide? And it's also, part of that is not just celebrating, but are we rewarding in a
Right.
way too, the right things company wide? And where are we experiencing within our organization the high fives,
Right.
that was awesome, you did a great job, those, or that this is something that we're happy about, we're excited about. What are the things that we are excited about and celebrating and high-fiving and all of that
Yeah,
in our
and I would
dealership?
say, I put prioritizing because when we say celebrating, it's like dealers. There are a lot of ways we could have gotten to this question. Like,
Mhm.
it's where do we currently place value in terms of bonuses, incentives? Like,
Mhm.
where,
Yeah.
if I ask dealers, what is your average salesperson paid? What is your average collector paid? Maybe look at that and ask yourself that question, and then just say, okay, so what does that say about how I prioritize,
Mhm.
my different departments and what it is that I'm most focused on producing,
Mhm.
and ask yourself how that affects, other elements of your business. So a lot of these things obviously tie together,
Mhm.
but they're all meant to really drive toward what is going to improve my effectiveness. And really, when we think past all these day-to-day questions that we ask the dealer, what is the objective? Like, if I was able to sit with a dealer and what's our 3-year objective, our 10-year objective, and now, do these things that we're asking, these questions, how do they serve that
Mhm.
objective? And so this is part of why we want to dig into these elements, because it helps us to know what, you know where are we currently
Mhm.
prioritizing, and is it worth relooking at some of these things to
Mhm.
place incentives in other areas? And so again, we're kind of focused for today mostly on sales, and so we can obviously dig into
Yeah.
others going forward.
So to let you know, we have, next month is the next dealer roundup, and
Mhm.
what we are doing this year is every other month we're doing a 3 session, typically, a 3 session dealer roundtable, or like we'll put together a panel of dealers to talk about certain subjects. So just put this on your calendar, Thursday, April 18th, and we're going to start it an hour later than we did last time. I think that we decided we didn't want to be up at
Right. Yeah.
that early.
Yeah.
So it will be starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, so it'll be 8-hour time. And here are the 3 subjects, since we talked about some of these already. First is, can you teach an old dog new tricks?
Right.
So old car dogs, and diving into that conversation about how we're staffing ourselves.
A lot of
Mhm.
layers on this question. So yeah, we could probably spend most of that session, on
Mhm.
that one question. But
Yep.
yeah, that's the other one. And then the next one
The
is going to
next
be
one, go ahead.
outsourcing BDC. So this has obviously
Yeah.
been a buzz topic lately. We're just going to bring experts, and we're going to bring some data of our own and talk around the data and kind of share what we're seeing, with some of our clients, and let dealers just answer for themselves. Like, what are they seeing? And I really want to hear from dealers who've done both. Right? Because I think if you've never done it, then probably you're not able to, able to speak as thoroughly to the subject. So we want to hear from people who've done
and
both.
we know too from our experience, there were some things that it just took a little bit of time and a little bit of tweaking kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, and then the last topic that we're going to be talking about is private money, the answer for me. And this is a big one right now. We still are, money is tight, still.
Right.
And we've had a lot of people that have been asking questions on social or asking questions during our client meetings or V8 meetings about private money.
Sure.
And is it for you? And a little bit about what is it that what is the difference?
Yeah.
What kind of things need to be prepared for? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly coming up right now in the context of about three things. If I'm new and I don't yet qualify for traditional, or kind of institutional type of money, then what would be my options for capitalizing? And obviously there are some early stage sources that are very pricey, and then the other pieces would be private money related to debt reduction and as an alternative to something a little more affordable in the way of financing. So this will be a big subject. It'll continue to be a subject, and we're making it one of our panel discussions.
Absolutely. So again, put it on your calendar, April 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we'll have the 3 sessions. So it's going to run, usually the sessions are about 50 minutes. So just 3 hours. And don't forget, when just like with the webinar that we're doing on Thursday, whenever you have a ticket for one of these events, that includes the post-event recordings.
Right.
And so you will have access to those as soon as they are released. And, because we know that things happen and you're maybe not going to be able to move your schedule around to be able to listen to all the sessions or to be there in the evening or whatever. So when you have a ticket, that it does include the post recordings so that you're not going to be missing anything.
Sure.
And so again, this we have your V8 meeting tomorrow with the group 4, and then Wednesday we have our Rick Reeves tribute. So we'll be doing that for the podcast, and on Friday or Thursday, we've got a busy week, don't we? Yeah. On Thursday, we have the webinar about keeping your talent sticky. How do we keep them motivated and engaged in our business? And then Friday, we're going to be talking about
management level
hires.
Yep.
Absolutely.
How to go about choosing that.
And then we've got the dealer roundup coming up on April 18th.
We probably better get on the highway.
I think that we should. I want to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah,
it's been too long. I don't know about you guys, but there is just pillows. Should we have a conversation about hotel pillows? No. Okay.
No,
all right. Well, everybody, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate you being a part of, making us a part of your morning and or your week. So we just want to big thank you for that. So, all right, let's do this. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah,
we'll talk to you on Monday.